Everybody's got an agenda, right? Anybody need an agenda? Everybody got one? Does anybody need an agenda? Has everybody got an agenda for today? We're good? All right, well, Ms. Lattimore, whenever you're ready.
I downloaded
Very good.
mine.
I just realized it's 4 o'clock and we will start on time, just about 3 minutes late. But moving forward, we will be on time. I want to introduce myself. I'm one of the old girls on the block. I've been around a long time. I worked many years at the welfare department, a social worker with the mental health center, and with Friends of Yates for over, I'm not going to tell you, but a whole lot of years. Um, Friends of Yates is a not-for-profit organization and an advocacy. I would like to say we're an advocacy program. And we've been in the trenches with anything that has gone down in this community. So I'm not no stranger to crime. I'm not, and domestic violence is crime. And we had the first and only battered women's shelter in Wyandotte County for 43 years. Several years ago in 23, a little girl was shot and killed, Chanel Cooper, over by 13th, where our agency is. We overnight called a meeting. The next day, we packed Mount Zion Baptist Church to address this. It was gang related, going back and forth, back and forth. And this kid got killed in the midst of all of that. And they knew what they were doing. That was 20, 23 or 24 years ago, and we organized what is called CASE, Crime Awareness Coordinating Effort. And so we bring together the police department, the district attorney's office, the school board, several agencies in the community, political leaders, and have an annual during Crime Victims Rights Week at Forest Grove Baptist Church. I'm a firm believer of consistency. Have your facts. Don't bring the yang yang. And that's what it's all about. And that's what I'm about. I'm not about any foolishness, no arguing. We can disagree, but not disagreeable. So I don't know what you've heard about me, but that's who I am in a nutshell. I think we're going to get along, we're going to do good, and some great things are going to happen. One of my philosophies is work groups. In meetings like this, it's all kind of things happening in the community, and one issue could take 4 or 5 hours in a meeting. But if we break down in work groups, then you can go and address that. And if it's something dealing with the police department, get with the chief or whoever his assigned designee is, hash it out, bring the report back to this group. And then we'll talk about whatever it is we need to talk about and keep it moving. And we will not downplay any significant issues in the community where there's police brutality. Let's address it. When we're out here acting not so nice, creating crime and all other kinds of stuff, we're going to address that too. It's not all one-sided. we know it's been some terrible things that have happened in this community over the years, but it's all about how can we fix it and how can we stay friends and not turn on each other because we disagree. So I don't know what has happened, but I'm sure you all have done some great things, and I want to be here to keep it moving. So that's who I am, and we just keep on moving with this agenda. Um, does everybody know everybody? Am I the only? Oh, okay. So let's go around introducing ourselves, starting with you.
Good afternoon. Thank you. My name is Marcus Wynn. This is my first Law Enforcement Advisory Board meeting as a member of the board. I've been attending as a member of the community for, I don't know, since October, I think. I was appointed by Commissioner McKiernan. I've been active in the community in a variety of ways. I work for a nonprofit called Metro Organization for Racial and Economic Equity. I've also been active as a board member, now former board member of the Strawberry Hill Neighborhood Association. And I don't think it's any secret to folks and many folks in this room that Reverend Behrens is someone I've worked with and a good friend of mine, but I am looking forward to working with everybody and hopeful that we can continue to build some consensus around the table.
Hello, I'm Dwayne Beth. I'm retired from the police department and appointed to the board by Sheriff Soptic.
I'm Damon Mitchell. I'm the Chief Deputy District Attorney. I'm not a member of the board, but just simply here to support the board's efforts on behalf of Mr. Dupree, who could not make it. Nevertheless, we believe this is something very important for the community, and we stand behind it and give it our full support.
Marcia Rupp. I'm a neighborhood watch leader, also an activist. I was here with Ron Miller when it was the Chiefs Board, and then they changed it over to the Law Enforcement Board after the 55th and Crest incident. Thank you.
Good afternoon. First of all, I apologize for being late. Normally not late, but I apologize for that. I'm David Patton, and I represent District Number 1, and with Gail Townsend as my commissioner. And it's good to see the sheriff and the chief back. Nice to see you guys. Definitely.
My name is Reed Partridge. I'm in the auditor's office.
My name is Tonda Hill. I'm the liaison for the Wyandotte County District Attorney's Office, and I'm Assistant District Attorney.
I'm Nikki Richardson, Law Enforcement Advisory Board member appointed by Commissioner Andrew Davis, District 8.
Irene Caudillo, President and CEO of El Centro, and an appointment by the sheriff.
I'm Captain Navarro with the Kansas City, Kansas Police Department. I'm the Hispanic liaison for the department, and I'll be here whenever the Chief Oakman cannot be here.
My name is Paul Soptic. I was appointed by Commissioner Johnson. I'm current president of Wyandotte Counties Against Crime and also the chair of Neighborhood Crime Prevention Patrol.
Sheriff Soptic.
Chief Carl Oakman, KCK Police Department.
Well, it was good meeting everyone, but so many of you I know. We work together in so many ways. And you mentioned Mr. Barron. I don't know him, but I've heard great things. So tell him I said hi. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Will you please introduce yourself?
I'm Kendall McReynolds, appointed by Angela Markley. I'm a executive board member of Livable Neighborhoods, NCPP, and Turner Community Connection.
I'm Ashley Hand. I'm the Director of Strategic Communications with the Unified Government, just presenting here today. Very nice to see you all.
We have Rose.
Is that a board member?
I am just an observer. Just watching.
Okay,
You and Mike.
I didn't see that.
Hi, can you hear me?
No.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm Mike Armstrong, appointed by Christian Ramirez, District 3.
Okay. Was nice meeting everyone.
You, I think
Um,
Lynn is the last one.
Is it somebody else? Oh, okay. Where are you seeing them? I don't see them.
Hi, I'm Lynn Melton, and I'm appointed by Commissioner Burrows.
Oh. Is it another?
Yeah, I think that's everybody online.
Hi. Okay. Nice meeting everyone. And if we could have a listening tour update. Oh, okay. Thank you.
Hi, Kim Weaver, she, her pronouns, and I was appointed by Sheriff Ash. Is that all y'all need?
All right.
Thank you.
Now, am I missing anybody? Okay. Irene, are you gonna do the listing update?
Madam Chair, I definitely can do listening tour updates, but I want to make sure that we understand that the idea behind this piece was to actually, for all of us to be able to provide input from the previous, or which was our first listening session, make it stronger as we move along. I'm assuming that those listening tours will continue. I know that there were thoughts that we had. I'm going to apologize to Kendall and Dwayne. We, as a committee, we did not get together to even discuss our thoughts about it, because I think it's really the opportunity for the entire group. Just to give you or for those that were not in attendance, just some preference or preface, what is it? Before we even got started with the first listening session. Our discussion as a committee and intent had always been around this, some of what you see are responsibilities to the ordinance and statute. If we're to give a report to the commission, if we're to really be of value as a give and take communication with community, they did not know us as the LEAB, as the Law Enforcement Advisory. So our small committee took, just kind of movement to first think about listening sessions in the different commissioner areas or different areas. Inviting the commissioners, there was a recommendation that the district attorney, the chief, and the sheriff not attend, but just us listening so that they could understand who we are. So the idea was to introduce ourselves, and the idea was to ask one question: how do you feel law enforcement can best serve your neighborhood? We had our first session, whatever date it was, February 8th. Okay, February 8th, had our first session. And I think what I'm interested in is there are a few things I think we could have done different, better, we can strengthen on. But what I can tell you was that, yes, we got a lot of feedback. This is my personal observation until we kind of get everyone's kind of notes together. There is some healing around Golubski. There is still some very much hurt and pain that came up. There were community members that were very much strong with our police and our law enforcement, wanted to know, we just need to know how to help. What do you want us to do? Then there were folks that said, we don't need an advisory board. We need somebody that can actually do some policy work and get down to business. Then what I heard also was that was really important was really around communication. They want that communication. We want to be that communication between law enforcement and the community. And there were a few members that definitely said we could communicate better. So there were some process issues, I would say. I think the intent is very much to listen. I think there were a few of us on the law enforcement advisory that spoke. I think that's the chairman's responsibility. I think our goal was to listen. I think we got some good feedback. I think we can continue to move in getting feedback. But I think I need to hear from those that were there. Well, not me. I think all of us need to understand how we move forward, especially if we're going to continue as a committee with Dwayne and Kendall to make this work, because we intend to make this work if we're going to get down to recommendations or valuable information from community to commissioners, to police chief, sheriff. Anyone else want to jump in?
Yeah, I'd like to. Excuse me. I was at the meeting and I wrote down 4 things that I heard. I heard they want more accountability after grievances. They want a homeless shelter. They want more respect and they want communication. After that first meeting, I feel that we have an opportunity to make this as much a communication issue as a listening issue. Now, I don't know how we're going to do that or whether we do that separately, but this has always been my big deal, that law enforcement needs to communicate better, and the citizenry needs to communicate better. So that's where I'm from.
I forgot the homelessness. Thank you. Anybody else?
So do we want to go around the table? Okay.
It's up to, how would you like?
Yeah, let's just go around the table and
I didn't bring my notes, but I'm pretty sure I can remember off the top of the dome. I agree with Irene. There's definitely some things that we could have done better. But overall, I think it was still a very impactful event. The turnout was decent. People did feel comfortable enough to share very intimate and traumatic stories. And we were able to create that space in which they felt safe to do so. We did hear a lot of grievances in reference to the Golubski case, but it was a wide range of just asks for communication, accountability, and just a better relationship between law enforcement and the community. I think a lot of the reasons why we heard such heavy Golubski grievances is we do have to make note that we were in District 1 and 4, which is the Northeast District, which was the most impactful district to this particular scandal, if I can call it that. So that was to be expected. I don't think it'll be the same as we move across other districts. I think the needs are very diverse in Wyandotte County, and we will continue to hear those as we move across the county. I do think there could be, better logistics, such as, more consensus note-taking, more meeting management. We did have one singular question, but I think we were also invested in listening, which we were supposed to do, that it was hard for us to kind of stay track on making sure that that question was being addressed and answered in the appropriate way. And so those are things that we are going to consider as we move forward, I hope, to make sure that we get a clean response to that significant question, which once again was how can law enforcement better serve the neighborhoods. But we asked the community, I did get a few responses. There was a participation survey on just, if they wanted this to continue. And it seemed like an overall consensus that the community that was at least in attendance do want to continue to see our presence throughout Wyandotte County, which I think is a good thing and was exactly what we were looking to accomplish. I did also kind of reach out to the rest of the board members just a few. You might have gotten an email from me, maybe a call or a text, because I just wanted to see how you felt. Do you feel like it would continue? There's been a lot of things that have happened since the listening session, and I just wanted to see if anybody had a change of heart. It was clear after the listening session that things were not being said in this forum. And then different things were being said outside of this forum. And so I want to just make sure that the board members are in consensus and are still in agreement with continuing the listening sessions, as well as the community. And so I just want to just communicate that to everyone. This is a safe space. If for some reason you've changed your mind, that is absolutely okay. We are here to talk about it.
Well, we won't dialogue on that yet. We're gonna go around the room and everybody have their input, and then we'll come back and talk about next steps.
I do want to emphasize LeBron Thompson has joined the group as well. He's online. Ron, if you want to introduce yourself real quick.
Good evening, everyone. Laurent Thompson. I am the appointee for Melissa Bynum.
Hi. I don't see nobody.
Well,
hello.
Okay.
I wanted to kind of piggyback on the other ones that were saying. It was
Hold on just a minute. We're gonna go around. This
Okay.
way. Okay, if they weren't in attendance, just keep it.
Yeah, I
moving.
have nothing.
Yeah, I thought the meeting was good. We had a lot of good conversation, pro and con both. And you know, there's always two sides of that coin. And I really appreciated the people coming up and talking about the positive reaction and action with the police department and the sheriff's department. We got a lot of good, well, I won't say good, we had a lot of response to the negative issues also. I think as we go around the community, like Nikki was saying, we're going to get a lot more issues that are going to come before us. And I think that's what this is all about, is to open up the conversation between the citizens and law enforcement. And that I think is a big responsibility of ours. We need to do that, and I think these listening sessions will make that happen. A number of things. I like Kendall's 4 points. There was one that was kind of under the table, and one of them is basically animal services. And unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to talk about that very much. We had a near miss on my block just yesterday where a German Shepherd attacked a lady and her dog. And I think we'll do more conversation about that here in the next few meetings. But I enjoyed the idea of getting people together. I would still like to see law enforcement involved in these meetings, maybe in the background, but I think they definitely need to be there as we talk about specific issues. So you know, let's move forward and make sure this happens. And once we put it on paper, then we can act on it and make this a better place to live.
I think mine's just more of a general question, not necessarily to anybody specific. But I think I am interested to know kind of how the information will be tabulated, how it'll be, organized. Obviously, you've had a lot so far. These meetings are an hour. And so I think to understand what you're going to do with that information and data, and otherwise you've just collected a bunch of information and just to collect it. So just a general statement, I guess.
Yeah, I agree with the sheriff. Even when you talk about policies, procedures, there's a lot of things that go along with that, as well as research, getting the data, and actually making sure that whatever we decide or come up with or what we want to recommend, one, that things are within state law, CPOS, KLETC. There's a lot of things in the state of Kansas that regulates police department policies and procedures. So we just need to keep that in mind. And I think that this city, we have a lot of issues, unlike any other city, but I think we need to make sure that we're really focusing on things that's going to improve the quality of life of our citizens, whether that's crime, whatever. And and I probably speak for the sheriff to say that we've always been ready to assist in those type of efforts, and nothing has changed that.
I don't want to just repeat things other people have said. I was there. I was not yet a board member, but I was there as a resident, and I agree with most of what's been said. I think it was generally positive in terms of its achieving its purpose. I do think that logistically, some meeting management, I think the question is the right one, and the board could do more in future sessions to refocus folks on that question as they're listening. It did meander quite a bit. To the question of whether law enforcement should be present, I want to say I see both sides of that. And I know I'm new here, but I have tried to reach out to some neighborhood groups just to let them know that I am representing the district. And in the past week, I've received 2 contacts from people in my neighborhood, my district, who wanted to share recent negative interactions with the police. And I encouraged them, you should come to these listening sessions. And they said, if the police are there, I will not be attending. And so I think there's just a tension that we have to navigate as a board, because those are important stories to incorporate into our listening.
I was in attendance to the listening tour, and it was a very good meeting. I'm probably unique here because I've probably been to more neighborhood meetings as a community police officer and listening to citizens' concerns than most people. I come off with 3 things that were the most important things that I focused on. Was number 1 is communication. Is the people were like starved, thirsty for communication. They wanted to talk. They wanted feedback. And the second thing is education. They really want to know how things work and what's going on with the police department, the city, everything in general. Everything from the police department to animal control was brought up. And so I think education is important. And the third one is communication. So I have communication, education, communication. And that's where I think our deficit is not communicating. I stayed after the meeting for quite a while and talked to some of the people, and some of the people that were kind of incensed or angry, it seemed like afterwards, when you talk to them and you talk to them on a personal level, attitudes change. It's a human factor kicks in, and so I believe that's probably the most important thing we can get out of this. How we gauge what we get and put down as in a some kind of recommendation or feedback to the police department. I'm not sure how that works. I think it's important that everybody hears these concerns. I do understand that some people are apprehensive of speaking out, But I think, again, that goes back to communication and education. When they start understanding and you talk to them on a level of a personal level on one-on-one, most of the times those barriers are overcome when they find out that you're there actually to listen and help them, and you actually are concerned about what goes on. And that's about my take on it.
I'm sorry. Um, I just want to say that when this first started, I had some feelings about this, and I don't want people here to all jump on me. Um, but I just had this feeling that when people go out into the neighborhood and they start talking about the police department, uh, that I thought, I hope that they're bringing out that this is to help communication with the police department and not that we have a real problem in the police department. Because a lot of times they see people going out that haven't been out before and gathering and talking, and they wonder, why are they doing this? And why all of a sudden is this happening? And they start, thinking, what's wrong with our police department? Is there anything wrong, or, what's going on? So I think it's great to come out and say, we're here to open up a communication more, because the police can't be everywhere to let them know what is going on. Also, too, at one time I heard that there was supposed to be a hotline where people, if they had something really personal that they didn't feel like opening up to in a public surrounding, that they could call on a hotline, or if they had a problem with a certain officer or something, that they could, talk to somebody in the police department. Therefore, you could get their name and their address and invite them in, the police can, and have a personal conversation with them if they felt like they wanted to do that, if it was something personal. And then also too, in the past meetings, it was really nice to hear more from the police and from the sheriff about things that were happening in our city and what is new with both of them, like new equipment, things that are going to be developing new. And I know I'm only a guest, but I have been a guest for a long time. I've probably been here longer than anybody than Paul. And I'm just saying that if you look at the introduction, and the police don't get to talk until 4:40, which the meeting gets over with at 5. And there's a lot of things that the police can, relate to us and tell us, and the sheriff, about, how short they are, how many people they need, what they're looking for on new equipment, things that they'd like to see happening. And so I'm just saying that I hope we don't lose that. Thank you.
What I basically saw was the citizens don't understand that there is a protocol, and that things that go on, a lot of things have to be settled higher than the sheriff's department and the police department. They don't understand the policies and the procedures that go on. And also, if this is what I'm saying, if we're in this room, all of us in this room, I'm looking at everybody, and we're talking about bridging the gap between the law enforcement community and the citizens, and we're talking about it in here, then when we're outside in the public, we need to be doing the same thing. And I agree with you. We need to be doing the same thing and not making it look like there's a big problem with our law enforcement.
Yeah.
And if we're talking about it in here, bridging the gap to make it work, then talk about it out in the streets too.
First, I'd like to apologize, Sheriff Softic, because I did call you Sheriff Ash when I came in here, and I don't know where that came from, because I know you so I don't know where that came from. So let me apologize to you publicly. You said they look the same. They don't, but it's okay. Don't do that. Don't do that. I just want to highlight again that we heard over and over from the community that they didn't even know we existed. And so for us to be the bridge, they have to know we exist and they have to know who we are and they have to feel comfortable enough to talk to us. So I hear what everybody's saying and I agree and I understand, but we can't be the bridge if we're not even existing in their eyes. How do they know who to come to if we're not out in the community? And that's all I have, because it's almost time for y'all to speak.
If I could just add one final note. I do think there is a better place where we could educate people in these sessions. And I think a lot of the ways that we'll be able to bridge that gap is if we can be good information liaisons for the police department, the sheriff's department, the district attorney's office. There were 2 questions that were asked during the listening session that were asked here in the Law Enforcement Advisory Board meetings, and we weren't provided the information that we needed that was suitable for the community. And so I think there are areas where we could be educated a lot more on processes and policies and the reasons behind them, because a lot of the times people don't really care about the what in the community, it's the why behind it. And if we can get, just good, I'm not asking for like secret detailed information, but just really good sound bites that the community can understand. It was helpful having DA Dupree there because he was able to provide clarity in the questions that we asked here and was not offered that same clarity. And so it was really nice to have him. And if that is the bridging of the gap that we will be seeing in future listening sessions, I am okay with seeing that.
The ones online, do you have any input in terms of the listening sessions?
I was online, but I'll go ahead and talk now. I'm here now.
Okay.
I'm glad to be here and thank you, Ms. Lattimore, for being here. I agree with everything that has been stated so far. I remember in my tenure of being a Wyandotte County resident, a variety of boards who have taken their meetings on the road, from the school board to the mayor's commission when I served on the youth advisory council, when Alfonso Zarate and Mayor Reardon were in charge here. They often went on the road because if the community won't come to you, you go to the community. And I believe that's been the intent of this board, this advisory board, is to go and get a pulse of the community to see how they feel so that we can gauge and present a solid recommendation to the Board of Commissioners of Wyandotte County. And I think if we continue on that path, I think we will all the more better be a stronger community, a more united Wyandotte County, which I believe everybody in this room desires, for us to be a better Wyandotte County, a stronger Wyandotte County, and a better place for our children to grow up and for all of us to live. And so I think we gained a little bit of that from districts 1 and 4, and I hope we continue to gain that from the other districts that we will go and meet with in the future.
I think that was everybody who was in attendance for the meeting, for the public session. Yeah, I don't think anybody else was there besides the people that are here in the room.
Oh. Okay, well, I listened intently, and the one thing I would say is we definitely should continue with the listening sessions. I think we need to format it in a way that it's a win-win for everybody. Group management is very important if you want a positive outcome. If we're calling them listening sessions, that's what they need to be, listening, not answering, a whole lot of, it's listening. We need a recorder to jot down all of these concerns. It might be 100, but just jot them all down. We hear all over the city. Then we come back as a body, decipher, and everybody's question and concern is important. but how do you categorize them? And then make something happen, and then have a big community forum and share with them outcomes and what has happened. This is just my opinion. In terms of having sessions where the police, the DA, and the sheriff not be present, I don't support that at all. If you're trying to have a communication, build on it, create an environment where it's safe and that people, I don't care if it's the police, the community, be able to say what they have to say. It's just like, I always like to give examples. It's just like when I was working and somebody wanted to complain on somebody, and then they wanted some disciplinary action taken. Well, I'm not going to do that. Oh, okay. Some disciplinary action taken. Well, if you complain that a person has done something to you, we all need to be in the room together and talk about that. And because what you told me might not be the side of what the other person says. So that's why we got to learn to trust our police, the sheriff, the DA, and they need to be able to trust us. So open communication, and sometimes it's hard. You know, when you talk about race, it's hard, but it's real. We have to talk about it. So you can't hear me? Oh, okay. In just a minute. And we'll go back around. But the fact of the matter is, when we set up a system or a situation where we don't want this person to hear or that person to hear, and we set our goal and mission is positive community police relations. I got another story. A little kid, well, he wasn't a kid, but a young man was killed by the police down on 13th Street some years ago. We called a big mass meeting with that at Metropolitan Baptist Church. People were saying, well, case is not doing anything. Well, what are you doing? And so the fact of the matter is, we had this meeting. Miller was the chief of police then. He had this statue or whatever and showed all the body parts and said the police was trained to shoot center mass. And we said, but are there some other options? Because if you shoot center mass, you're going to kill somebody. So are there other options? And so they said that's the way they train. And that's what the ordinance says in the law. Well, any law, any ordinance can be changed. Let's advocate for change. What happened? 7 days later, he called me and asked me what I said in on a press conference. And instead of shooting center mass as a first option, it was to use tasers. But if you misuse a taser, you can end up hurt or maimed also. But it was another way of dealing with the situation because we came together, open communication with the police department, and the meeting was managed. It was a whole lot of people in that room hot at the police. But you're not going to come in here and just start all this hollering and cursing and all of that. Calm it down. If you got some questions, send it to the end of the table, then we'll deal with it. That meeting was very well managed. The now mayor, who was on the police department there, he was at that meeting. It was very well managed. And so we can do things in order, but we don't want to play down the community in terms of it's some real stuff going on out here. And the police, because we'll leave this room and talk about the crime in our community, then we want to beat up the police, but the police got to know they're not the judge, jury, and executioners either. It is a process in dealing with these kinds of things. So in terms of what I heard was communication. Some things the police and the sheriff and the DA shouldn't be at. managing the sessions and a process for how we get that information, come back to this body and share it. And then when we had all the listening sessions, I think a big session, but you had your hand up and, oh,
I do want to just make sure that we're all on the same page, that the listening sessions were in no way designed or intended to create a sense that there was a problem with the law enforcement with the law enforcement in Wyandotte County. It wasn't marketed that way or presented that way to anyone. It's not a anti-police initiative in which we were targeting the community to respond in reference to complaints. That is just naturally what comes up in these situations. There are definitely opportunities for better management in reference to law enforcement officers being present. It is a recommendation. We cannot stop them from showing up. Our previous chair, Reverend Rick Behrens, did let them know via email that it is your prerogative. If you would like to still attend, you very much can. And that is why District Attorney Dupree did show up. And we cannot stop that. These are public meetings. So the recommendation, I feel like it can still stand. And then if law enforcement officers would like to attend, then they can. But we might have to actually have a board vote on this. And we do have a listening session next month. So we will not have an opportunity to address this before our next listening session unless there's a protocol for a special meeting. So if we need to have a agreement on whether law enforcement advisory officer or whether law enforcement officers should be present, then we should probably do that in this meeting so we can better plan for the next listening session.
And go ahead, Irene. I was just going to say, in addition to that, the recommendation came because when there's law enforcement in uniform present, they're easy targets for the community. As we've seen at our last meeting, because District Attorney Dupree was present, he became an easy target for people just to attack. That's not our goal in this meeting. And if, again, it's a recommendation, law enforcement is present, we create a space where it doesn't become a listening tour. It becomes an attack session. And that's not what we want to facilitate. That's not my intent, nor is it the board's intent for us to create a target on Chief Oakman, Sheriff Soptic, or DA Dupree's back. That's not our goal. The question that was posed at that session was, how can law enforcement better serve Wyandotte County? That should be the focus of our session. And again, as stated earlier, there could be some better management tools on how to focus on that question alone versus it becoming an attack session on law enforcement.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I can't speak for Sheriff Soptic, but none of this was ever relayed to me. As you know, the November meeting, I was there for about the first 10 minutes and had to leave. So I had no discussion on the listening sessions. And I think the sheriff and I think have kind of agreed. If that's best for the community, we have no problem not attending. And as far as a vote, it really is moot because based on the ordinance, no one can keep us from going. So it's just that there again, the communication part. I think there could have been some better communication because what's strange to me is I talk to each of you individual, but when we get in this meeting, for some reason, it's like you don't know how to communicate with me. So, but you call me all the time. So there's no issue there. So I think moving forward, we just want to be part of the discussion. And I like your point, LaRon. Point well taken. Because I will tell you this, for some of you that don't know, and I don't know about Soptic, but you'd be surprised how many times I get about 8 calls a week where people threaten my life, my family's life, around a lot of things that is said and brought up. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
And so I want to say that we heard from the district attorney that night about why it was important for him to show up. I'm not speaking for the district attorney, but it goes back to why we understand both sides. Because the district attorney was targeted, but he felt like he was able to provide information for misinformation, right? Right then and there. He stayed with this group after the meeting. So I don't think we're gonna keep, I don't think we can't keep, I know we can't keep anyone away. But district attorney, I think, sees the value of taking care of things that at that point of time, if that comes up. So I think the value, again, I agree we can't vote, but the value again is it's a recommendation because LaRon eloquently put it. I'm not going to say, I can't say it again because he said it so eloquently. It's not what we intended when we first began this, but we really respect what the district attorney said to us that night.
Well, and I think it all goes back again to what you're trying to accomplish. Do you want a listening tour or do you want interaction? Because if you're going to interact, then you're not, I mean, that's different. So.
And that's why I stated, if the law enforcement does show up, which I'm in favor of either way, it becomes a non-listening tour and it becomes an attack session, which is hard to manage. When people are elevated and on a whole nother level and they already have their made up minds, it's hard to manage a meeting like that. And so my recommendation would be to us stick to the question that we posed. How can law enforcement better serve Wyandotte County? The misnomer of there's a huge problem in the police department. It is nowhere underlying in that question or the sheriff's department. How can law enforcement better serve Wyandotte County? Because like with any organization, with the church I pastor, we can always be better.
I think we have an opportunity here to have this listening tour and then morph into a communication with the citizens after we come up with the answers that we need for this listening tour. Because if we just listen and don't communicate back, we're missing half of our opportunity.
Okay, one of the things I was about to say is in the state of Kansas, there's the Sunshine Law. All of these kind of meetings are open meetings. The fact of the matter is we can vote, but who can you keep out of a meeting because they're public? That's right. And you can, if it's a listening session, whoever facilitates that, keep it a listening session. I heard what you said, that's very important too. If we talk in communication, people want their questions answered, but if that's not what the purpose is to hear, record, and create a format of how we get this information back out to everyone. Now we're gonna pause and go. See, I didn't know we was gonna go so long because I understand I'm the one that keeps meetings a long time, John Rios. But I thought you all leave in about an hour. So we went a long time this time. So we're gonna move to, but we'll come back and bring some closure to this. Hearing from Ashley Hand in terms of social media protocol.
Thank you, Ms. Lattimore. And if you don't mind, just bear with me. I'm going to share my screen very quickly and just introduce you to strategic communications. So my name is Ashley Hand. I'm the Director of Strategic Communications. Our department directly reports to county administration. And we were started with the goal of really catalyzing a lot of the issues that you've been talking about. Law enforcement is not alone in wanting to foster a positive rapport with the community, to build that trust, to have a deeper understanding of the issues within our community so that we can be more intentional and strategic around how we provide services to our community. So several years ago, there was an assessment that looked at the unified government and acknowledged that we were lacking when it came to communications, and really wanting to kind of focus on fostering a culture of transparency and empowerment to give our staff the tools they need to bring information from the UG down into the neighborhoods, but also to ensure that people feel welcome and part of the decision-making process. Also focus on capability, making sure we have the tools and resources in place, as well as the structure, the clear roles, responsibilities, and standards of operating. So our team is very, very small. So as I mentioned, we report directly to the county administrator, and I have a public information officer who joined me about a year and a half ago. We are doubling in size this month, which makes me giddy, as we have an awful lot of work to do, and certainly rely heavily on a small number of us to get that work done. So I wanted to share with you several of our channels that we have available to you as part of the unified government. And I think this speaks very well to the conversation that you've been having, that kind of, what do we want to do? Is this about creating one directional information flow where we're collecting information or we're putting information out into the community? Or is it more two-directional, right? Or are we looking for ways to create a facilitated discussion or to understand and analyze feedback? So each channel does not work the same way, nor does it work for each audience the same way, but it does open up a lot of possibilities. Your listening sessions were a bit of a surprise to me, and I was happy to post information on them, but I wanted to make sure you were aware that you had us as a resource to help you with promoting and sharing information about the work of your board, as well as listening sessions or any other type of engagement you plan to do. So whether or not it's featuring some information on our website, Ms. Lattimore, maybe we do a quick interview with you, for example, and talk about what's happening on the board. There's a lot of great ways that we can cover what the Law Enforcement Advisory Board is working on or hopes to accomplish to help elevate the messages of the work that you're doing in these meetings. We also have our e-news, which goes out every week. It has a very, very high response rate. We tend to get a very high click-through rate because these are active followers who are very eager to get this information from us. And we are in the process of growing our email marketing approach across the UG, which will considerably open up new audiences that we've never been able to speak for through better, more directed and targeted communications. We also have our own public television station, which means that we have a platform for video content. That UGTV is not only available via live stream on our website, but it's available through Spectrum Channel 2, Apple TV, and Roku. So we are working right now on relaunching our television channel with substantive content. So you may want to think about, how can we create content to educate the community about public safety in our community, the great programs that are underway, the initiatives around community policing, et cetera, to help kind of broaden awareness. That is a definite opportunity there. We obviously have social media, which again is still a limited reach in terms of our total population, but does give us the opportunity to cost effectively put the word out. We also have been convening new in-person engagements, and I deeply appreciate the conversation about who's in the audience, how the conversation is facilitated. We can provide you with engagement support, whether it's thinking through the strategies and the outcomes of what you hope to accomplish through outreach, but also to Mr. McKendall's point, making sure that you're bringing this data home and bringing it back so we can analyze it and understand it and apply it to public policy, not just as it affects law enforcement, because some of the issues may be bigger than that, right? It might be streets, it might be neighborhood blight, which is one of the top issues that came out of our community survey, things like that. So we can make sure that that information goes back to the right parties so that the people who do take the time to participate in our engagement opportunities feel heard. That is so important in cultivating that trust. We have a slew of other channels, often through many of our departments, and then we are working to completely overhaul the community survey. which is something that we'll talk about later. But I wanted to highlight that because this may be an opportunity for you to get a very statistically accurate sample at the district and neighborhood level of what community input is around law enforcement or any number of issues as it pertains to public safety. So we are working on overhauling that survey tool right now so that we have something that really helps us as an organization leverage that input and that data to drive decisions around service delivery and programs that we need to have in place. To take a step specifically to social media, I know that you guys have been eager to be on social with your own Law Enforcement Advisory Board Facebook group. I do want to let you know that currently, as it stands, it does not align to our social media policy. So we do need to take a step back on that. And the reason for that is that we need to make sure that we have a process in place for everything from comment moderation to making decisions about what posts should or should not be deleted or muted, as well as an electronics records retention policy, as social media is considered an extension of the unified government, and therefore it's subject to open records requests. So we need to be in a position to be able to pull all of the information that may be required as part of a Freedom of Information Act request. So I'd like very much to work with you on kind of what those different tools may be that you want to use over the coming year and what type of communication objectives you'd like to establish. We're more than willing to help you support that. And then I wanted to just quickly allude to something that we have been working on across the board, which is to try to coordinate what seems like a million different outreach efforts happening simultaneously. Your listening session, for example, conflicted with another meeting that night. And so it was important to us that we make a point of really, sorry, it's automatically advancing, which is very annoying, but that we do our best to coordinate with all of the other engagement efforts that are happening. And I wanted to make you aware of our upcoming comprehensive plan exercise. This is the citywide comprehensive plan. It looks at land use, economic development, housing, public safety is a key element, land use, urban design. And what we've been trying to do is work across all departments to ensure that we're really coordinating the type of engagement and outreach that we're doing so that you can show up to a meeting for our budget, for example, and still play a very key role in the long-term visioning exercise of our comprehensive plan. And so I think we have created a schedule to try to create some alignment, the topics we bring forward to commission for discussion, the topics that we bring to senior managers internally as a discussion to try to evoke some of the information and research that we need on our own organization and what's happening in our community. So we would love to help find ways that we can not only support what the Law Enforcement Advisory Board seeks to accomplish through these listening sessions, but then try to tie them into other processes that we have going on to see if there's ways that you can inform everything from our 2024 budget to our long-range comprehensive plan. So I'm going to end there because I know I went a little bit beyond just social media, Ms. Lattimore, but I wanted to make sure you were aware of all the things we have available to you and offer my partnership to the Law Enforcement Advisory Board to kind of identify the right approach that will work for you, your team, best serve our community, but also ensure that we have a productive round of engagement that serves the community well. So thank you for your time, and I'm open to any questions that you may have.
Anyone have questions? Well, this was quite helpful and informative, and we will be tapping you again. Hopefully, because I'm new, I want to get up to speed. I would like to suggest, we won't deal with that today, a retreat for this body. I think would be excellent, and that would be a part of that process, this whole communication strategy. But thank you so much for coming out with us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, and we're going to get back to the listening session, but we're going to keep moving this agenda. Reports from Chief Oakman and Sheriff Spot.
I'll be real quick. Just real quick, just wanted to talk about the peace walk that we're going to have April 1st, 11 o'clock, 5th in Washington. This will be the second annual So we hope that everyone in the community come out and attend. And real quick, we got a few other, our community open houses. East Patrol, which is the old Midtown station, will be April 10th. Starts at 2 p.m. to about, I believe it's 8 p.m. And then South Patrol would be May 11th around the same time. Now, what's important is this is also a good opportunity for residents to come out and talk one-on-one with their division commander. Whatever issues you have, whatever you want to talk about, that gives you an opportunity. And I'm also there too. And actually, we did them last year and I had a lot of one-on-one. It's really an opportunity for the community to talk to me one-on-one about issues. So put those down in your calendar. And then real quick I just wanted to talk about some of the things real quick we did in 2022, just basically the stats. We put in a violent crime reduction plan in January of 2022. And as a result of that, we've seen some significant crime reductions. Homicides were down 24% compared to 2021. Rapes were down 5%. Aggravated battery down 5%. Aggravated assault down 5%. And then burglaries were down 26%. So we're pretty optimistic about putting that plan in place so far in 2023. And so far, we're seeing much better results than what we've actually seen in 2022. And a lot of that is really understanding and approaching the community in a different way of really making community partners in helping reduce the crime in their neighborhood. So that's all I have.
Chief, do you have a Citizens Police Academy coming up as well?
Yes, by the way, I'm glad you mentioned that. Let's see. I think you have the dates of the regular. If not, I can get those to you. Also, one of the other things we're doing, we also do two summer youth academies. And any kids in the city can come to those academies. They're Monday through Friday. 9 to about 1, we feed them breakfast and lunch, and we talk about, it's a whole week of conflict resolution, anger management, team building, and really an understanding of the police department and how it works and how it works with the community. So last year we had 40 kids graduate out of that program. So this year we're hoping for even more.
What age is that?
Ages are 12 to 15.
Chief, also you have the real-time technology rolling out, right?
Yes, and I'll talk more about that in about a month or so, because we will have a grand opening and make sure everyone come out to see it. It's going to be one of the most advanced crime reduction technology real-time crime centers in the metro. Right now, Kansas City, Missouri is the only one in the metro with one. We'll be the second, I believe. Overland Johnson County is in the process, but we're far ahead of them. So we're really working to get Kansas City, Kansas really as a significant player in the metro in police technology, community engagement, and just new and innovative police and community initiatives. So that's what our focus is, and that's what my focus has been as chief.
One question for you, Chief. When I called your office, Nancy, I think that's her name,
Yes.
who was very helpful in making sure we had our materials for the listening session. So please tell her thank you. She mentioned that the website was going to be updated soon. I think she mentioned March, but she didn't give a date. Is there any progress on that?
Yes, that was one of my biggest pet peeves when I took this job, was the outdated, inefficient website. So we have been working hard to get, and by the way, if any of you, I'm glad you mentioned that. So if any of you saw a couple couple months back, it may have been the Star, KCUR, reported that the Kansas City, Kansas Police Department was like 120 on transparency. But what they failed to realize, that was just based on that organization going to your website. So it made people think that it was police operations. No, their study was just pulling up a website. And based on our website, because it wasn't updated, out of date format, we are putting in a state-of-the-art website that's going to be tied directly to the UG website. We're going to have a link with transparency, which is going to have access right there online to our policies and procedures, things like 8 Can't Wait. For those of you who don't know, KCK is probably the only police department in the Midwest that has got 100% compliant with Campaign Zero's 8 Can't Wait use of force policy recommendations. We got 100% compliance here in January of 2022. So we worked for about 8 months with Dr. Hill's group to get compliant with that. So we're going to have a link where transparency, use of force, a lot of things, citizen complaints, all of that's going to be on our new website that we're going to roll out. Right now, we're looking middle March, but it's going to be pushed back to May because of testing. So it'll be testing in those 2 months, and then we should be up and running in March. And if not, then I'll make sure I get another contractor and we'll get one. May. Yeah. So right now we're looking at May to go live. So.
And just real quick, the Citizens Academy is going to start on April 6th. It's going to be for 6 weeks. It's a classroom setting. It's a little different this time around. It's every Thursday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. for a couple of hours and different topics every week. I'm sorry, at the Police Academy, Kansas City, Kansas Police Police Academy there at on the college campus. Yeah. I think it's 7240 State Avenue, something like that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's right there on the campus of KCK.
I had a question. Chief, is there any way, I know you're a busy man, that we could get you an advisory meeting once in a while?
And as far as, are you talking about East Patrol,
West?
West Patrol?
You put us at West.
Yeah. All they have to do is let me know. I just did South Patrols about 2 weeks ago. So
Okay.
if they let me know and I can put it on my calendar, I'll be there.
The other question is, some of the people there live right in the Midtown area that is east now. And are they reporting what's going on since they're so close, East Patrol, what's going on? And because we're not getting that when we go to the west, we're getting what happens out west.
No, we just had a crime strategy meeting today, and actually the majority of West Patrol's resources and interactions is in that Midtown area. So we have a couple initiatives that we have going on in that Midtown area. So yeah, we are putting resources in that part of West Patrol. And so so as we talked about earlier, when we talked about communication, how you say that we're not putting the resources in Midtown part of West Patrol. Well, the far west side says we're not putting resources in that part of town because we're putting them in West Patrol. So we kind of have to go based on, the crime and what we're getting. So like I said, we're covering that entire patrol district. We even added an extra district when we did that changeover. But as we get more officers, we would like to put more into that area. So we got a plan to do that.
And maybe a Quindaro unit.
Yes, we got some things that we're looking at over there. We have seen an increase in some issues over there, and we have a plan to address that.
Good. Thank you.
I have a quick question. I'm sorry. I'll try to be quick. And it is actually more for you than anyone. I want to affirm, I absolutely agree with Pastor Laron and others who stated, the spirit of the listening sessions is not to assume that there is a problem. But I also think it's important that we not assume that there's not a problem.
Yeah.
As I'm just looking at the UG ordinance and it says to advise on existing and potential law enforcement problems in the county. And so my question for you is, how would you prefer that we ask questions about those in the future? Because I have a list from my neighbors about concerns, and I don't want to take any longer in this meeting because I know we're already over. But how should we approach that moving forward? I mean, asking concerns to the folks like the chief and the sheriff directly.
Yeah, it depends on if that concerns around crime and that sort of thing, calls for service, that's a whole different.
These are concerns about civil rights issues.
Yeah, well, civil rights issues, then, like I said, there's several things they can do. They can go through the complaint process or go with DA Dupree's complaint process, which is also an option. And we're actually in the process of working with ad hoc to make ad hoc a location where people can also make complaints. And as well as the Attorney General's office.
Right.
It seems.
Yeah, I think we want to be respectful of everybody's time too. Well, I guess we'll have some time to figure this stuff out before our next listening session, which is going to be what, in a month? Yeah, so, yeah, just to be mindful of the time now, since we're about 20 minutes over, we can let Ms. Lattimore kind of close us out. And if you have any of those questions, you can send in to us or her.
Oh, you're mine.
Okay, so keeping in mind with this listening session, we have one scheduled for the 12th, Irene.
Our next meeting is to be an evening listening session that replaces this time regular meeting. It's the same day. What is it? April 14th, 12th, 8th? I'm gonna just make something up.
Your question.
Sometime in April,
Your question.
April 12th. But I think one of the things that I wanted to do, Madam Chair, is would you mind coming to the next committee meeting to discuss the process in the next listening session that is to be in April? And then we can talk about if we're ready and how to make that work.
Okay, so the committee is a committee of,
It's really a
Board members.
committee of board members, really just like
Dwayne
three
and-
of us, 4 of us.
Dwayne
a
and
work group. Okay.
Yes,
And you all are calling me, I would like to participate in that.
that's what we're asking, or at least that's what I'm asking. I'm sorry, I didn't ask the other members, but I think that's probably the best choice to move forward is after what you've heard, and then just kind of making sure that we have some things in place and the process to move forward. Yeah, let's see how we make April work.
Okay. Okay, are there any other questions? I would like to get some kind of feedback before we leave in terms of a retreat, because I think that is so important for this body. You,
thank you for that. Sheriff, did you have anything you want to share? I didn't want to leave you out.
oh, I'm sorry.
Not my meeting. I was letting her run it. So I'll no, not at all. Just real quick. So we'll be at the Peace March with the police department. Watch our social media for lots of upcoming events over the summer in partnership with the police department. March 16th, we've got a class starting of 8. 2 of those are laterals. So that'll be a nice bump for us. And then we've recently signed on through an accreditation process with Kansas Law Enforcement Training Center. And so that's some stuff we working through. So, that's all I've got.
Sheriff, how many are you short? Still, I think it was 35 the last time.
Yeah, it was 35
Oh,
prior to these 8. So.
okay, thank you.
Ms. Lattimore, this is Paul.
Hi.
I think we got some housekeeping issues that we need to take care of, being we've got the majority of the board here. A while back, I was tasked somehow, I think I missed a meeting and got elected to keep minutes and attendance records for these meetings. We need the attendance record, of course, for the whole board and how we react and act. But we don't have everybody signed in, and I was just wondering too, being as we've opened this meeting up to the general public, should they need to be signed in or not? So I think there's some housekeeping that we need to address. And there are some things that I'll be needing from the new people that I don't have on the list yet. So before everybody leaves, please get with me. I need a phone number, an email address, et cetera, et cetera.
And before everybody leave, that's why I think we need a retreat, because all of these housekeeping issues and stuff, see, it would have been ready if I had known. And plus, we need to have some goals and objectives to come back in every 3 months, every 6 months, to see what progress this body is making, and that we're not just here and not getting anything accomplished. So
Ms. Lattimore, when you say a retreat, how do you envision a retreat going? Because we have no budget as a board.
Mr. May, he's gone. Okay, you're on behalf of the mayor's office. Can we get some money for a retreat? We could have the retreat here. But what did?
I would like to. No, so I would like to just first off say that I'm here on loan as a volunteer basis. Wish I had more power to go ahead and divvy out for a budget. And that being said, I can ask and see what options that we have, but for the most part, we was looking into either finding some type of sponsorship for one when we go out to events, or two, seeing whatever we can pull within our group. A lot of people in here, a lot of creative minds. If we can figure it out how to have a retreat within ourselves, and I don't know.
Maybe the chief and the sheriff will give us 0.5% of their budget.
Yeah, because I think, and it would be just for some food, and we could determine how long. It could be just one day, and to get the materials printed for us and all of that. I think they can do that. I think they will do that.
Sheriff, who you get that barbecue from? That's what we need to know. Where you
The
get the
barbecue.
barbecue from?
Where do you get the barbecue?
Right on. We can get the barbecue.
You said what barbecue?
We'll talk.
Okay, so get into everybody.
Madam Chairman, I thank you so much. If that's it, I move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. We can consider ourselves adjourned.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Breath of fresh air.
Uh,
I don't know how I got this, but like I said, I think I missed a meeting and got voted in. But if I can get your anywhere on there, if you don't mind.
It was never bad.
Was she yelling? You did all right? Hey, was she yelling?
Yep.
You gotta be careful when he says you're gonna talk to him later.